Women podcast. For your career and your life, no matter what business you're in.
Hello and welcome to another episode of the Northern Power Women podcast. I'm Sam Walker, she is Simone Roche. I'm in the US of A, but still a Northern Power Woman, because once a Northern Power Woman, Simone.
Forever a Northern Power Woman.
Exactly, you can take the girl out of Manchester, but there we go, still a Northern Power Woman. Simone Roche, of course, our great leader, Simone Roche, MBE. I can never remember your official naval title, because is it, what are you again?
Honorary Lieutenant Commander.
That's it, Honorary Lieutenant Commander. I always just want to say Goddess of the Sea, which is in my head is what I've called you. So therefore, that's what you're going to be from now on in. Now, look, we're here with you every single week talking about work and life and everything in between, part of the Northern Power Women Network, all brought to you by b-her.io, of course, of which more on that later on. But we have to just say for a moment, stop the clocks. This is the week, Simone Roche. You've actually been around. People.
Oh my God.
How did it go? Tell us, remind us of the event that you were part of and what on earth happened.
So it was the first government pilot event for business events in Europe. No masks, no social distancing, and lots of noise. Lots and lots of people. I'm not going to lie, I'm still buzzing. It's, I think we spoke about it last week, and they pull this event off here in Liverpool in something like 4 or 5 days. Bless the team. I'm giving an advance warning for, but high five to them because it's not just like pulling an event off. It was, you had to have your ticket registration matched with your lateral flow test that you had to take, one 24 hours before, one in the day, another one today, 5 days later, as part of this, part of the experiment. So there were scientists there, I did expect people to be running around in lab coats with test tubes, but maybe I've just watched too much box sets over lockdown. But, it was definitely sort of mixed with sort of, gosh, should I do this, should I not? But it felt right, so I did it. And then literally 24 hours out, I could not wait. I couldn't wait. I was so excited. Our Liverpool Power Circle WhatsApp group, high five to them, were just literally fizzing. And then we all got to be in a room together. And because I was invited to speak, I felt and do feel really privileged to be part of this history making. I felt like it was all done very, very, sort of sensitively, very safely, and excellent service from the Arena Convention Centre team, as well as Culture Liverpool, Liverpool City Region teams. It was brilliant, and I loved it. And I think the things that we thought we missed, we miss about being about people and the buzzing. What was really interesting was I was in the green room. The one thing I did not like was the heavily air-conditioned areas, because, of course, they've got to have that ventilation and that air blowing through. So it was freezing.
What was the general vibe, though? Were people anxious? Were people nervous? Did you go and shake people's hands? Did you touch people who weren't in your immediate household? How did all that feel?
It was just too exciting for words, and every time the green room door opened, the noise that hit you, and it was like this sense of, I didn't see fear or trepidation anywhere, if you like.
Wow.
I didn't see it. I didn't sense it.
Because I'm starting to read now quite a lot of articles of people saying, the return to normal life, inverted commas, is going to feel very weird. Lots of people feeling anxious about it. You didn't see any of that?
No, I didn't. And it was 2:30 till 5:30, and then they put a comedy show on in the evening, sort of for an hour. And again, that was part of the social experiment about laughing, so about all of that. So I found it amazing. I found the whole vibe was brilliant. So you were literally, there was no separation in the seating venue. So because the seat, you were sat next to somebody like you would be in a, it was an auditorium, an environment, but the buzz was brilliant. And I think everything that we have always loved about live events and our passion for live events sort of was reinforced yesterday. So I swung by the office before I decided on 25 different outfits of what I was going to wear, because that was also tricky, because people can also see you in full.
Oh no, I'm going to have to, I don't think any of my trousers fit me anymore.
Well, that was what everyone was talking about, but there was something about that, just, I don't know, there's that sense of, I swung by the office to grab merch badges, Be Heard flyers, business cards. Remember those things? The business card.
Yes,
And
yes.
that was really exciting, that kind of interaction of chat, conversation, that whilst we can reach many people virtually and flexibly, there's something about looking somebody in the eye, chatting, talking, collaborating. And the things that came to life yesterday were amazing, to be honest. And I think there was a sense of will, because you have people, no one's forcing anyone to be there. There was not quite the numbers that they wanted. I think the anticipation was 1,000. It was probably more like 400 or 500. And also the theme of the festival, a good business festival, is about purpose. And also just the thing was not everyone, the sense of people, it was a diverse audience. So it was not a suited and booted environment. It was a comfortable, friendly.
So you've had these tests that you had to have done. I mean, I suppose, do you feel a bit nervous in that you're waiting to see whether anyone tests positive who you were in the room with? Is there that sense of, okay, that was great, but now I feel like I'm a little bit in the lap of the gods? Or do you not feel that?
I don't know why, because I've been a scaredy cat the whole way through this. They don't. And I think I was talking to Alex Cousins, outside, because of course the rules all come back into play. So outside having a drink, because we'd had a few and then therefore we needed some more. But that's a whole other, that's a late night Northern Power Women podcast story. But and Alex, we were talking about it today, both of us still sort of buzzing and bouncing off each other. But definitely that sense of, I think the Barcelona experiment that they did recently, it was I think there was something like 5 out of tens of thousand people that got COVID, and only 2 of them it was perceived or potentially from the event. The rate in Liverpool at the moment is only about 12 per, I think, 100,000. So I think we've talked about risk assessments the whole time, but absolutely a buzz, and I'm buzzing, Samantha, as you can tell.
That's fabulous. Well, look, obviously, keep in touch at North Power Women on Twitter. You can find out, really, I suppose, what the next few days holds, how you all feel about it. If you've been part of an event, if you're desperate to go to an event, would you perhaps still think of staying away? How do you feel about things opening back up? Are you buzzing and excited? Are you a bit trepidatious? At North Power Women, of course, where we are on Twitter. You can find us on LinkedIn as well. Or bob us an email, podcast@northernpowerwomen.com. Just got to say, before we get to today's life lessons, well done, trumpets. Hello, Webby Award honoree. Now, the Webby Awards are just such prestigious awards within the whole internet and digital community. They are global awards. They are a huge, huge deal. And Simone, how exciting. The Power Platform has been honoured for the best community website in the 25th Annual Webby Awards. Congratulations, and what a thrill.
I can't believe it. Only a year, since we built it, we launched it, and this honoree status is granted to only the top 20% of nearly 13,500 projects submitted. So later on this week, the winners will be, and they're currently out for public vote, but we, I suppose, I think we're the pre-published runners-up, I suppose, I think is what I see as an honoree.
Yeah, sort of highly commended.
I think it is, but they shout that in advance. So for me, that's amazing. I think we're in company of the likes of Tumblr, and some of the organisations, they're brilliant. So for me, again, brilliant. Congratulations to everyone who's been part of the Power Platform, the whole team, and thank everyone I think we were 2,000 or so profiles on there at the moment. Keep them coming. Keep being visible role models, please. Thank you.
Do it. 100%. And really, congratulations. It's a very, very tough nut to crack, the old Webby Awards. To be an honoree is fantastic. Let's say a big hello to this week's life lessons. Now, what we do every single week on the podcast is hear from you, essentially. We throw a bunch of questions your way. You pick 5 and just tell us your experiences. There are no right or wrong answers. And as I bang on about every single week, you might be sitting thinking, yeah, but what have I done? Who'd want to know about my life lessons? I tell you, everybody, because it is incredible the different things that people pick up on. We quite often get feedback from people going, do you know what I loved about that one was X, Y, and Z? And that, to be honest, might not have been something that spoke to Simone or I, but it absolutely speaks to other people. So every week there is always something we take away. It's a great name this week. I'm already loving her because of her name. Who have we got, Simone?
Crystal Hicks. It's fantastic,
Amazing.
isn't it?
It's great.
Total movie star name.
Yeah.
Crystal's the chair of Women in Social Housing in the North East, assistant director at Your Homes Newcastle, and non-exec director for Tyne and Wear Museum. So she's a busy lady. She's a passionate advocate for minority and underrepresented groups and a campaigner for a more inclusive world, as are we. So amazing. Here are Crystal's life lessons.
Hello, I'm Crystal Hicks and I'm Assistant Director of Customer Services at Your Homes Newcastle and Chair of the Women in Social Housing North East Board. Here are my life lessons. Question 1. If you are a working parent, how do you cope with the guilt factor? Put simply, I choose not to feel guilty. It's really not easy. The way I see it is that guilt is simply doubt in a decision you made or an action you took, which at the time you thought was the best thing to do. So we need to stop doubting our decisions. So many women say to me, oh, I feel so guilty, but my husband just doesn't. And I think there's something about the mothering instinct, which is ingrained in the way we think, that causes us to doubt every decision we make as a parent. And we need to recognise that and challenge it. So for me, I've decided the best mother I can be is one that goes to work, provides a fantastic lifestyle for my children and allows them to benefit from all of the gifts that come from having not a nuclear family upbringing, but an extended one, where grandparents, teachers, family and friends all have the opportunity to love and nurture the growth of my twin girls. So ultimately, I've accepted that they don't need me as much as my instinct would lead me to believe. And when I do spend time with them, it's quality time and it's cherished time. Question 2. Have you ever changed career? Yes, I work in housing now, which is my second career after over a decade in working in the arts, culture and heritage. So I read somewhere that professionals under 30 are now likely to have at least 3 careers in their lifetime. And this resonates with me. For my skills, knowledge, experience and values transcend one sector. They can be just as valuable in housing as they are in the arts or wherever I might end up. As women, we need to recognise that we can tick the essential criteria on a person's specification based on all of our incredible talents and attributes, regardless of our background or the sector that we work in. So if you fancy a change, then do it. If you don't, you'll become bored, stale and potentially irrelevant, which is more of a risk in my view. Question 3. How did you ask for a pay rise? So it wasn't so much a pay rise, but when I took on a new role once, I said, I noticed that the salary you're offering me is £5,000 less than the starting salary of someone else I know who just joined at the same level. Their comeback was that the roles are graded at different salary bands because the job evaluation system put the other role at a higher grade. I challenged this and said that interestingly, the system they use seems to grade hard skills and experience at higher than often sort of softer skills, such as people and customer service. And these harder skills tend to be in the roles that men traditionally do, and the softer ones are more commonly found in roles that women do. They didn't really have a comeback for that. And we need to change how we value the skills and attributes of that women bring to the workplace. Question 4. What's a commonly accepted rule of business that you have found not to be true? So this is that you can only truly know if people are turning up to work every day and performing if they are in an office and clocking in and out. So hasn't the pandemic proven that this is a complete myth? My teams are higher performing now more than ever, and I don't know where they're working from most of the time, and I'm not keeping an eye on whether they're on the clock. We need to replace this myth of control with the truth of trust and autonomy. So let's be brave as we step into the future. And then my final question, number 5. What's the one thing everybody should put on their CV but often miss? And this is that you need to be really clear what you stand for. What are your values? And start with that. So organisations are increasingly more interested in your values and your approach to life than your experience and background. To have equal, inclusive and diverse workplaces, we need to bring our whole selves to work. And this starts with being upfront about your values and motivations at the point of application. So those are my life lessons. Thanks for listening.
Thank you so much to the awesome Crystal Hicks. Do you know what? There was so much there to unpack for me. I don't know about you, Simone. The two bits that really, really shone for me, though, was just her very first words about being guilty as a working parent. She went, I just choose not to. Hallelujah! I love that. And I also love that she's kind of turned things around and said, do you know what? I'm celebrating the fact that my kids aren't in that nuclear family upbringing, but an extended one where actually grandparents and teachers and other family members and friends are as much a part of their upbringing as me and their father is. And I think that's really powerful, that sometimes we feel guilty and we're palming them off on a neighbour, we're palming them off on a grandparent. Actually, yet we all still celebrate that phrase, don't we? It takes a village. So let's make our minds up. I am with you on that, Crystal. It's great. And the second one, before I shush, that I just adored was when she talked about not really asking for that pay rise, but ask and saying, wait a minute, why are some jobs seen as more worthy of higher remuneration than others? And she was saying, it seems that hard skills and experience are graded higher than softer skills, such as people and customer services. And yet harder skills tend to be the roles that men traditionally populate, and the soft skills, women. It goes back to it, doesn't it? You know, I did a podcast episode here where there was a woman talking about working mothers, saying if you're a mother, you work. You might do paid work, you might do unpaid work, but man alive, you work. And we have to get out of this, that softer skills and caring skills and people skills are less valuable than, say, some of those harder skills. Loved it.
And the last 12 months has shone a light on that,
Yeah.
hasn't it? With, with homeschooling and caring and everything that goes along. I loved her career change. She's been, two distinct career, or at least, sort of three careers there. And the fact that she's now in housing when she had all those years in the arts. And I loved her fact that, if you fancy a change, then do it. She's great, Crystal, isn't it? Just, don't be guilty. Fancy a change, crack on. Because if you don't, you become bored, stale and potentially irrelevant, which is more of a risk in my view. So I thought that was really interesting, because we talk about there's no one career trajectory, is there? There are different paths. So if you fancy it, take a change. That's what Crystal says.
Well, and you've done it and I've done it. I didn't even start in radio till I was 30. And you think, goodness me. And I never thought it would be something I'd be able to do. And then I quit my job at the BBC and moved here, and now I'm a full-time cowgirl. So
Yeehaw!
Now I wanted to share with you. Now, of course, you know that season 3 of the Northern Power Women podcast, of which we are now in, is brought to you by be-heard.io. It is a platform where you register to make your voice be heard. And do you know what? It was so much in my thoughts this week, Simone. So I've just wrapped, as they say in the industry here, a really big podcast series for a very, very big multinational corporation. And it was incredibly hard work, but really, really rewarding. And it was a big, long old slog. And at the end, we had a kind of debrief, like you always do with a big project, of what could we have done better, what worked well, what could we have done differently, blah, blah, blah. And one bit of feedback from one person who was slightly outside the project, they said, I don't think there was enough diversity in the people who were featured. And I said, 100%. I am with you 100%. No disrespect to the large number of very qualified, very interesting white men who were on there, but we needed a little bit more diversity on there. Although there was some diversity, there wasn't enough. There was a few women, there should have been more. There were a few people of colour, there should have been more. But one thing that we talked through was the fact that we had a really high-profile African-American woman who cancelled the day of the recording, the day after I'd spent a long time prepping her. She was a total and utter powerhouse. She had achieved the most incredible thing. She's really high up in a major organisation here. I was so excited to talk to her. She cancelled, and then it transpired. She said, I don't feel I had enough to say. That was what she said. I don't feel I had enough to say. There was a British Asian woman who, again, really high standing. I was, again, so excited to talk to her. She cancelled. She gave some excuse about, I'm a bit up against it. And I just thought, no, you're not. There was, again, an American Asian woman who did the same thing. The 3 people who cancelled were all women and were all women of colour. Now, I'm not blaming them. I don't want to put any blame or guilt on them, but I'm saying I know for a fact that at least 2 of them cancelled because they felt they didn't have enough to say. Oh my gosh, they had so much to say and their voices are so important. So please know that you've got enough to say, whoever you are.
Being you is good enough. At the festival yesterday at the event, 2 of the young youth Quakers that we had on the Northern Power Futures podcast, they spoke on stage and I was in the green room with them and, someone said you couldn't be the better person to be in that room with them, Simone, because they were nervous, they looked amazing. They were, and I'm like, oh gosh, are you nervous? And I'm like, yes, of course. Everyone's got nerves. Having nerves is good. I said, well, how should I do this? And what should I do here? I said, do you know what? You be you. 10 weeks ago, you were on a podcasting, having never done that. You've done a second podcast. Now you're on a stage. I said, ask for a selfie at the end. They got on that stage. They owned it. They stole the show. And at the end, what did they do? Selfie with the audience, and one of the hosts, Tanya Beckett, a serious news journalist, she is now, between us, we're collaborating with Be Heard. They're now signed up to Be Heard because they've now got 2 bits of media that they can claim profile for. We're going to get them, get them shone up, get them to be the best versions of themselves. And, it's so exciting. I think the thing for me is we need to make sure, how do we stop them losing that bravery? Because they're young. How do we keep building on it as opposed to your 2 ladies? We need to keep that going and keep that power of that going, don't we?
I think a really important thing to think about is, and I know it's a bit of a cliche, but if not you, then who? Because we all think about the first person on the dance floor and how awful it is when you don't want to put your foot on that little dance floor because you think, well, no one else is dancing and everyone will be looking at me. But then as soon as you do it, everyone else does. And I always we always talk about role models, Simone, and we quite often ask people, when you were growing up, who were your role models? And quite often women will turn around to us and go, there weren't any women out there who were role models for me. And I didn't, especially if you work in an industry that perhaps has been male dominated historically, there weren't any women out there. Well, guess what? You are now one of those women, and there is a whole generation of young women coming up behind you. So be the person you wished you had seen when you were younger. Get out there. You might not think, oh, I've got as much to say as them, but actually you have, because as Simone just said, being you is enough. And there is going to be some kid watching you going, wow, look at her. She's on that podcast. She's on that stage. She's on the radio. She looks, sounds, acts like me. That is inspiring me. Just by being present, you are inspiring. So please go and add your name, be-heard.io. Get yourself out there.
Absolutely. And we're creating a campaign called Pass the Mic, which is all about nominating somebody else, because sometimes we all need that push, don't we? So I think, this works. It works with our high fives as well, doesn't it? It works with those high fives.
Let's do them.
Yeah. Oh, we've got the wonderful Sarah Waddington, who's been a massive supporter. She's high-fiving another big one of our supporters, is Advita. Advita Patel deserves a massive shout out for what her and Priya Bates are achieving through a leader like me, a new global organisation movement. It's amazing. Anu Kaura would like to high-five Tama Carell for encouraging women into STEM. Oh, there's a whole buzz, as you can imagine, from the Liverpool Power Circle. There's just too many to mention, but, ultimately, high five for breathing unmasked with some of the best in Liverpool. The energy and buzz was electric. So particularly the ACC Liverpool Arena team, Culture Liverpool team and Matt Ashton's team, big high five. Yvonne Harrison, high five to her mate Sarah Collins, moving from Manchester before lockdown. Fab new job down in London for Talk Sport and smashing it. So brilliant. 2 other quick ones. Clara El Albayo on Instagram, making a new business in an Insta debut and with a twist on Instagram, 1 week countdown until her dissertation deadline. Good luck with a twist. So close to the end now. And Lisa Marie Tonelli working with Creative Fuse North East and their fabulous group of local and international students. Lots of high fives this week. So it's great to hear, isn't it? It's great to hear the high five celebration.
Special love to you, Sarah Talksport. You're an absolute goddess. You're an amazing woman. Amazing, amazing, amazing. Look, we'd love to hear who you are celebrating. Maybe you're celebrating something about your own life, somebody who's helped you get, you're high-fiving something you've achieved, high-fiving somebody else. Just please get in touch. Instagram, Twitter, everything. LinkedIn, just search out Northern Power Women. You can also email podcast@northernpowerwomen.com with your shout out, please, for next week. And of course, your life lessons. Thank you. And get on to be-her.io. Simone, it is another week. This is a wrap, as again they say in the industry. Marvellous as ever. Let's catch up again next week. The next episode coming your way, of course, on Monday, May the 10th. Until then, she's Simone Roche, I'm Sam Walker, and the Northern Power Women podcast is a What Goes On media production.